I've been a PC gamer for 25 years now, and I can't help but notice how messed up the whole gaming industry has become. Just to put this into perspective, these are my specs. Yeah, it's pretty much as high-end as it gets for gaming, but this hardware is still not enough to play all modern games at high frame rates. Don't believe me? Here is Doom: The Dark Ages with path tracing at native 4K. I paid $2,000 for this GPU just to get this pathetic performance. For comparison, this is how Red Dead Redemption 2 looks and runs. Now, if you have functioning eyes, you can see that 1. Red Dead Redemption 2 looks a good amount better, and 2. runs way better. But we haven't even scratched the surface yet, as Doom: The Dark Ages is actually one of the better running games these days. Borderlands 4, a stylized, cel-shaded game, runs at 40 FPS on a 5090. Reminder, this thing costs $2,000. Oh, never mind. It's closer to $5,000 now. The point is that we have games that don't look any better than those released in the late 2010s and run way worse on top-of-the-line hardware that is unreasonably expensive. The most insulting part is that when we, the players, complain about bad optimization, we get told the game is already optimized and we should upgrade our PCs to play a game that looks objectively worse than games almost a decade old. Another thing we get told is to just turn on DLSS and FrameGen, which make everything worse if your base frame rate and resolution are not sufficiently high to begin with. How did we get to this point? Well, it all started in the distant 2018, when Nvidia released their first generation RTX cards, which featured Tensor cores and RT cores. This is a bit of an oversimplification, but Tensor cores are accelerators for AI workloads like DLSS upscaling, ray reconstruction, etc. And ray tracing cores, or RT cores, are what make real-time ray tracing possible. On paper, these technologies are amazing and can allow for games to look great and run phenomenally. But there is one tiny little problem with all of this. These technologies allow developers to, develop games faster, which means that money-hungry corpos will abuse them pretty much as soon as they can. And that they did. You see, instead of meticulously baking lighting into levels, with ray tracing, you can just drop some light sources and let the player's GPU simulate lighting bouncing around in the environment in real time. This process is extremely demanding on hardware, and since GPUs these days can't really trace that many rays, aggressive denoising is necessary, which results in a lot of smear and noisy reflections. Combine this with upscaling and frame generation, and clarity in motion just goes out the window. But upscaling and frame gen also allow devs to say, well, the game runs at 60 FPS, assuming you have upscaling and frame generation always on, ship the thing immediately. These technologies were supposed to make gaming better, but no, we can't just have nice things, can we? Instead of using DLSS to make a game that already runs very well run even better, so that we can have 1440p 240Hz in every game, devs just use it to get a game to a playable frame rate, instead of DOAA giving us super nice anti-aliasing on an already clean-looking image. It's just being abused to make a horrible-looking image barely acceptable. As for ray tracing, it is legitimately 10 years too early to have it be mandatory in games. The performance is just not there, and the visual improvements are just not worth the performance hit in the vast majority of cases. But it makes development easier, and it offloads cost to the hardware of the consumer. So, of course, greedy corpos want it in their games. They want it now, and they want it to be the only option. Now let's talk about the other blight on modern gaming. Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5 is a general-purpose game engine that has been designed to enable developers to make realistic-looking games with minimum effort. This is good for developers and publishers, as they don't have to train new developers on an in-house engine, and they can outsource a lot of work to contractors very easily, as the Unreal Engine 5 is an industry standard, and almost everyone in the game development space knows how to work with it. This, however, is terrible for us, the consumers. Let me explain why. Unreal Engine 5 allows devs to just tick some boxes and boom, we have realistic graphics. Said graphics are achieved using cutting-edge Unreal 5 features like Lumen, which is the engine's default lighting system, and you can think of it as software ray tracing, as it does not require RT cores to run. But it can be hardware accelerated using RT cores on GPUs that have them. It's expensive to run, and it's noisy and smeary. Looks good in screenshots, not so great in gameplay. Anyway, developing games on Unreal Engine 5 is equivalent to vibe coding. I have zero respect for devs who use it, and I refuse to buy any game made on it from now on. And I would urge you, the viewer, to do the same if you want to prevent more Borderlands 4s and Stalker 2s from being made, that is. Horrible development practices and misuse of technologies is one thing, but hardware prices and availability are also a huge problem when combined with, the terrible optimization of modern games. AI data centers are buying up all the RAM and GPUs. This resulted in graphics card and DDR5 prices going through the roof. DDR5 prices have more than quadrupled. Micron, one of the biggest RAM manufacturers and the parent company of Crucial, has completely exited the PC consumer market, so you won't be able to get any more Crucial RAM and SSDs. To make matters worse, prices will keep increasing, and AI companies have pre-bought future supply for the next 2 years. It might take until 2030 for RAM prices and availability to come back to normal, and RAM manufacturers love selling RAM to AI companies because margins are just better. To the point where Samsung Semiconductor refuses to sell RAM to Samsung Electronics. Samsung refused to sell RAM to Samsung. You just can't make this stuff up. The RAM apocalypse won't just affect PCs, consoles, smartphones, tablets, cars, and literally everything else that needs memory will be affected. So get ready for everything to get super expensive. Consoles like the PlayStation 6 and whatever the next Xbox is called might get delayed or just release at a stupidly high MSRP. And I'm sure scalpers won't try to scalp them the same way they did with the PS5. Surely they won't do that. There are also rumors about Nvidia completely exiting the PC market, and Jensen said that Nvidia is no longer a gaming company, but an AI data center infrastructure company. And honestly, I do think it's entirely possible for Nvidia to just stop producing GeForce cards and just forget about PC gamers entirely. AMD might do the same and just heavily focus on AI, leaving gamers behind. Unironically, Intel might be our only hope, as they currently suck at everything, and I believe they will happily take the opportunity to fill any gaps left in the gaming sector. On a more positive note, we are in a golden age of indie games, mods, and re-releases of old games that are usually far better than modern AAA games. So go play those. You don't need to upgrade your PC to play them, and you have thousands of hours of content to enjoy and keep you busy until the AI bubble inevitably pops. Just hope no component in your PC dies in the meantime. That would be pretty expensive. As always, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments, leave a like for the algorithm, and see you in the next one.